Okay, so welcome everyone at a new interview with indie developers. This time I have Jakob in my studio and he's going to explain everything about his game, A Bavarian Tale, which is not yet out. Maybe you find that out with my live stream because I tried to play it. I later found a very good computer, so it is playable. But of course, Jakob is going to talk about all those issues as well, but also like how it is to develop this big game. Because you know, it's like around 17 gig on your Steam account, so it's a quite of a biggie. But Jakob, please feel free to shortly introduce yourself.
Yeah. Hi everyone. Hi, I'm Jakob. Yeah, I'm from Munich, Germany, and our studio is based there. So, yeah, we're working on the game A Bavarian Tale. Totgeschwiegen. Release date is now end of January.
I'm going to show the real game, and I know still a lot is half English and half in German.
Yes.
So it was not like you, I don't know, it was just sometimes it just swapped, but like there was no like you just start from finish to end. It's just randomly sometimes you translate it or like...
No. We wrote the game originally in Bavarian, the year 1866. So we wanted to have this Bavarian vibe in there. So we started in Bavarian, and right now we're fixing the localization to English. And we're thinking about adding more languages as well, but only English is gonna have a voiceover localization as well.
Yeah, but still they sometimes speak German. That was interesting.
Yeah, there's still some bugs. This is the stuff we're still working on until end of January. This stuff is hopefully gonna work. Yeah, it's a big game. It's depending on how you play, I think about 10-12 hours of gameplay. Mm-hmm. And a lot of story and a lot of dialogue, so that's why it's so big.
Yes, it is. And you made it most likely in Unreal, right? Because I got Unreal crashes.
It is Unreal Engine, yes.
Okay. Why did you choose to use Unreal?
For us, it was just the easiest way to start. Unreal Engine, because when we started, we were really new to making games. It's our first game, and Unreal Engine, for us, with a blueprint scripting system, really made the start really easy. So that's why we chose Unreal.
Oh, so the most of the programming has been in blueprints and not in like the straight code.
It's a mix, but we started out completely in blueprints and then learned more. So yeah.
Is that advisable to start in blueprints and then later, or does it take more time? Or
really much depending on what kind of game you want to make. In our case, we don't need that much processing time for the actual gameplay logic. If you're making some kind of real-time strategy thing where you need a lot of AI thinking, then you should definitely go the C++ road. But for us, performance-wise, this doesn't make a difference. What kills every performance for us is graphics. So like with most games, the GPU is the first thing that's gonna run hot.
Is the game going to be smaller later on? Like because like Cyberpunk is even, I think, smaller or kind of close.
Actually, not too much, as we are a really small studio. What these big studios can do, they can really optimize their assets because they build them all in-house. And for us, we have to buy a lot of the assets and fit them into our game. So we don't have as much control over the assets and how much space they take up on the hard drive. It's always going to be bigger than we like it to be, but that's kind of what we buy into for being a small independent studio.
Oh, so you buy a lot of assets, basically.
Yep. Yeah, it's like we try where we can, because we don't have so many people on the team that we could do all the 3D stuff ourselves. Mm-hmm. So we try to mix stuff we do ourselves and assets we buy, and we try to integrate it into one coherent look.
I could imagine that would be Germany in the old time. So how big is your team?
While we were working on this game, most of the time 2 or 3 people actually working. We have a big team. We're about 20 people, but a lot of them are just like, they have daytime jobs and they will help out in the night times, and they will just help a little bit here, help a little bit there. Mm-hmm. So it's just basically 3 people who made this game.
Oh wow, okay, that's impressive though. And then I understand why you need assets, because otherwise it will take... How long did that game take already?
It took 3 years. We started from absolute scratch. We hadn't made a game before, so we started at absolutely zero. Okay. So we learned a lot while doing it.
Okay, nice. So I can ask the question, like, what was the biggest challenge for making this game?
Everything, because we didn't know anything. That's kind of a good thing as well. We didn't know how things are done usually. We just tried out and found out for ourselves. Yeah, we found our own way of doing stuff, and that in many cases was a really efficient way. So we actually could make it as a 3-person team.
Okay, so do you have some efficiency tips then?
In general, I could definitely give tips on like certain aspects. I think one thing for us is we didn't really know the word agile and what it actually means. But as we didn't know anything, we kind of had to work this way anyways. So after a year, we realized, okay, what we're doing is apparently agile because we really tried to iterate fast, to fail fast, to absolutely appreciate mistakes and see them as a learning opportunity. Like not go into detail too early. We really tried to like work our way down from a very general, fast iteration way to then like going into the details really at the end of the project. And that's something that helped us a lot.
How did you start with this idea? Was it like, oh, you drink a beer and you were like, yes, I need a game with Bavarian people eating pretzels, and like, how did it came to this?
Yeah. We most of us come from a music background. Okay. Corona came along. Suddenly, everybody had a lot of time on their hands, and we were playing around with Unreal Engine before, and then there was the right time because everybody had time to start a project like that. And then we thought about what do we want to do? We wanted to do something historical. We knew that because we're just interested in history and how societies works. Then we decided, okay, Bavaria is right outside. We live in Munich. Munich is like the capital of Bavaria, but there's a difference between Munich and the rest of Bavaria. It's it's the city and the countryside. There's just a huge difference. So for us actually going out there and visiting Bavaria and the countryside was kind of a new thing as well.
Nice.
We've been there, but everyone in the team has not been that deeply connected to Bavarian culture and history. So we had to learn a lot of ourselves. But we were like, okay, it's out there. We can get references by just going out the door. We can have the people who do our voiceovers. We can just ask friends and people we know. And that's why we decided Bavaria is a interesting way to go for us for the first game.
Okay, so did you use historical figures in creating this game?
They don't appear themselves, but the story is fictional. It's a fictional crime story. All the surroundings, the world, the history, the current events that are happening and shaping why people act the way they act in the game, they all are like real historic events. And we mention a lot of real historic figures exactly that time and period. And we have 2 historians on the team who helped us with that. So they really fact-checked everything we're doing there.
Because when I was talking to you, you were also saying something with like connection with the museums, or is that still a thing?
This is actually the next project, and we're almost done with the next project already that we were developing in the last 3 months. We made something for a really big museum in Munich where we did a historical game as well, where you kind of experience the history of the building and what happened there.
I thought it was connected with this story, but it's a separate project.
It's separate project.
But it's still focused on Bavaria.
The museum is in Munich, so yes, kind of, but there's no major focus on Bavaria in this case. It's more the history of the building in that case.
Okay, I have a kind of idea what the Bavarian thinking is, the drinking and then the pretzel, but what is really the core culture that you wanted to portray with this game? I
mean, this is a very special time in Germany because Germany was one of the last European states to become a nation. So at this time, France, Great Britain, Russia, all the states around Germany already were states, as nation states. Okay. And Germany is still very split up into small states and sub-states and everything. And it will take 5 more years before Germany gets a unified nation. So this is a very interesting time in Bavaria. And this is something we wanted to talk about. And then there's industrialization going on, and it's not just great for people because working conditions are terrible. And this is something we're talking about. And then there's like the new economic system coming, and then there's the traditional way of thinking, and those clash at this time. So there's super interesting conflicts we can talk about, and that actually our story and our world has them all over.
Well, I have not really heard that much in the story about industrial issues though. It feels more like they're really backwards and that kind of feel. Or what is in the story with the industrial stuff?
There's a huge conflict in the place, in the village. And this conflict is between the traditional thinking people and the new developing right-wing workers' movement in Germany, the people who are on their sides. And they clash really badly at this time. And I mean, people are dying, apparently,
Yes.
in our village. And I don't want to spoil anything, but it might have to do something to do with those conflicts in the village.
Okay, so if you're talking about like the conflict between the teacher and the mayor, right? That's kind of the conflict that you were talking about. Yes. Yeah, okay.
And this is gonna develop a lot, and then...
Okay, nice. I also noticed like in the nighttime it's suddenly like people will just want to like attack you, right? That's like a kind of a big difference from they are not really scary like during daytime, but at nighttime it's like you should sleep. Like just a game mechanic, or was it really like from that time?
No, this is more of a game mechanic. We wanted to have like the village be a peaceful, nice place during the daytime, and during the nighttime you have to be sneaky, you have to be stealthy. You can't be seen in the village. So that's something we decided, and that's why the mayor is like, okay, there is a curfew because people are being murdered and we don't want anybody on the streets at night. And this is why we said, okay, let's have this curfew thing in there, because it just makes gameplay a little more interesting.
Yeah, because there's not like many things that you can die. You just need to keep on talking, keep on getting more stuff.
I mean, it's a very dialogue heavy game, but we wanted to have some gameplay in there, and this gives us like some action gameplay as well, and this gives us the opportunity to just say there's a quest you have to finish at night, so you will have to be in this situation, and you will have to find your way through the guards and this kind of stuff.
I was in the beginning, it was very exciting, just like the first like getting like them to be silenced, and that was nice. But it also felt like, oh no, I'm going to in the city and everyone's going to like, oh no, is everyone going to attack me the next day? But that was just like an experience, to be honest. The other experience was like the drunken part. I mean, that was like, oh wow. It was interesting because also your strength is going up when you are drunk. Wait, is this based on reality?
This was what people think it is like, Okay. We were thinking about what do you feel like you are when you're drunk, and we tried to put this into this buff.
Nice, that's really cool. Yeah, because like there's an interesting mechanic. Well, it sometimes feels like very like super random and sometimes very unbeatable because very high score needed sometimes, so it depends on what you're doing. But like every time it's like, okay, you have no clue if it's going to even if you have like very high number of like getting the controls like better, like up them, but it's very random. You can also like easily throw ones or twos or threes.
This actually is something that we're gonna push with the next update, because we have a whole system, the whole crafting system at the current state of the game of the early access is like there's not much to do, and all of this is coming with the next update. You can craft stuff, you're supposed to craft stuff, you're gonna be able to use this in the skill checks. It's gonna be a little more like gambling, because after each dice roll you can decide, do I want to push my values, do I want to push this particular skill, and then there is going to be stuff like drinking alcohol. This will really push your strength, but it will like decrease other values. So you have to think about, do I really need to win this skill check now, because I can use a few drinks. This will help me with beating this skill check. But if there's another skill check for intelligence, like in 3 minutes, I'm definitely going to fail that. So you will have to gamble a little bit and like think strategically. Where am I at right now? Should I push my values? Should I use something at this extreme, or should I just try my luck? So this is coming with the next update here.
Okay, that's nice, because I think that is an improvement that could be done, because it feels a bit super random. It's like you have a dialogue and it's just like, wow, we throw the dice and then yes or no, right? Yeah,
we wanted to have you to have some more control over those situations, but still no guarantee. It's an RPG. There's dice rolls, so if you're unlucky, you're unlucky.
But there is one thing that I'm like, why not? Because it's very based on D&D RPG, right? So it's, if I throw a D20, I want that something awesome happens. I just want a natural D20. Will that be added?
We actually thought about it, and then we're like, this is too much D&D. We can't that directly copied that. So yeah, we had like a special skill you have that's just luck, and whenever you roll a 20, you will have 1+1 luck, and you can use that to like alter skill checks. But then we were like, no, we can't that blatantly copy D&D stuff.
I was throwing a D20. I was like, okay, now I'm just going to like there will be a random elephant in the room and it's just jumping over. I don't know. I was just expecting something special.
No, not like D&D. Not like D&D. We actually have a buff still waiting that we're gonna bring. That just when you roll a 20, you will get like you'll be lucky for 5 minutes and have like every value boosted by 1 point or something like that. But not the D&D style.
Okay, but it is based on D&D, right? Because like it's a D20.
In Germany, actually, we're more, in this case, more based on the German RPG system. That's because this is something we were playing when we were young. It's called Das Schwarze Auge, the Black Eye. I think originally they were supposed to have the D&D rights for Germany, but something didn't work out, and then they just ended up making their own RPG. So this is the RPG most of us come from.
Okay, but it's based basically on D&D, if I hear it correctly?
Similar system, yeah. I mean, rules are a little different. It's actually a little more complex. If you want to compare it, like D&D is really a game to play, and the German, the Black Eye, is more like more rules.
Oh yeah, that's Germany, right?
It's German. There's super extra complex rules. So in this case, but under this circumstances, you will have a +3 that you can only use when.
Oh, that sounds amazing. That sounds like my favorite adaptation. Yes, okay. Do you only have Germans in your team? Like, I guess so? Or?
No.
Oh, no.
No.
Okay.
We're actually, we don't have a office, so we're already very spread out over Germany. And we have some people from Great Britain and from Romania and from Switzerland. So, yeah.
Will that also influence your game based on all those cultures?
Hopefully the next ones. I mean, we want to keep continuing the series because this is for us just the start. And people back then were a lot more mobile than we always think right now. So yeah, the next part could be anywhere. We don't know where yet.
But this will be not called a Bavarian Tale. It will called a other tale, right?
It might be somewhere else, yeah.
Okay. Oh, that will be interesting.
We don't really want to stick to Bavaria for forever because this was fun and interesting for the first part and for all the reasons I said, but there's so much other interesting stuff to talk about. So maybe different places, yeah.
Yeah, I get that. When did the pretzel came in? Was that like we need to have at least some food represented by Bavaria, or?
I think the pretzel was the first item our 3D artists did. The pretzel was number one. There's actually other stuff like Weißwürste in the game. That's a very Bavarian dish, but all of this is kind of hidden because we didn't want to be too.
Well, it starts with the mushrooms, like the schwemme.
Yeah.
So with 3 people, like how did you playtest this in an easy manner then?
Yeah, in the beginning it was just friends, and then actually we did a lot of changes during the early access phase of the game. Because we kind of used early access really in the meaning of early access. We got a lot of feedback, fixed a lot of bugs, and it was marketing-wise, this wasn't a smart move. Because the Steam algorithm will not like you if you don't feed it from the beginning. Yeah. And that's not what we did, because it was kind of a silent first release. There's not too much interest in your game from the beginning. Steam algorithm will be like, this is not interesting to people. Well, just not show it to anyone. So this wasn't a smart move marketing-wise, but for us, as it is the first game, we kind of needed this real-world feedback to know if our game is gonna break all the time or what's happening. So yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I noticed that when you publish something and it's not get up at this first minute, it's like, well, it's drowning into the sea of all the other games.
Absolutely, yeah.
But
we're learning this the hard way.
Yes.
We didn't know how to make a game. We still don't know how to do marketing, but we're learning all the time.
Yeah, it's a process, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And you said that you came from audio design?
Right. I have a recording studio. Other people in the team are from the recording world as well, and me and a few more of the team are actually also also live musicians. So that's where we came from before, yeah.
Okay, and then you were like, I want also the visualization of what I hear in my mind.
Absolutely, it has a lot of similarities and a lot of the kind of stuff you need to make a successful audio production, with working with creative people and it being like kind of a big project and being a creative process where you still have to have results at some point, and you always have to decide between creative vision and at the other side you still want to sell your music, so you want to make money with it. So all those things we found in Games Again, and all the knowledge we have there, we could use very well for this project.
Okay, just going back to the game and the story, because I hear Agile was kind of also new for you guys, so most likely presenting your narrative or in a way constructing it that you like have a grip of it at the first start. Like, how was that?
No, we did. This is something we realized from the beginning, that we need a good planning for the story so it will work out. So it's just graphs, like we have a huge graph that's graphs nested in graphs nested in graphs that kind of describe the whole story. So we have one big overview and then you can like zoom in there and have like then one quest, how will it spin out and what are the possible outcomes of every quest. Right now, the last thing we're writing right now is like the outro, where you like recap all the decisions you made and which outcomes it had. And we realized this is a huge task because we have so many decisions in the game and so many different outcomes that we were always saying like there's 11 different endings, and this is actually like the hard facts of endings the game has 11 different endings. But if you factor in all those small differences where somebody might die or might not die depending on what you do, it's like so many different endings.
Oh, so wait, I could have saved the doctor.
No, you couldn't have saved the doctor.
Okay, then
the doctor will always die.
It's so sad.
Apollonia is an interesting issue. Depending on what you do, she might die.
Oh, I see. Yes, because of the pregnancy in a way.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's a lot of different people who might or might not die.
It was just like such a mix of German and English and like, yeah. I mean, I can read a bit of German, so it was okay, but it was like, oh, okay, yes.
I still feel like the best way to really enjoy the game, even as an English speaker, should be to have the Bavarian accent in the voiceover and read the English text. And we're definitely gonna offer this possibility, because right now we don't have it. You can either choose German or English right now. But I think this is like Narcos, the series, that's completely in like Spanish and just with subtitles. It so very well transports the feeling and the situation, and we feel like actually this should be the way to play the game.
Okay, so we should basically play it in German. That's
German voiceover, or Bavarian. Actually, it's Bavarian. For German, for Germans, it's just like a tiny part of Germany that, or not tiny, but just a part of Germany that really well understands what they are saying. For everyone else in Germany, it's also like a different language. I mean, they can understand, but it's kind of hard for them. This transports a lot of the authenticity of the game, the Bavarian dialect in this case.
Okay, so you mentioned like the challenge was everything, right? But like, when did you really change? Like, because you said that in the beginning you had the early access. When did you really like change the game, or did it get this kind of form that it has now?
Still ongoing process, I would say. And I would even think that we're probably gonna do a few more rounds of updates after the release as well, because we take this as a huge chance to learn as much about making games as possible. We could just say, okay, now it's finished, now it's out there, we just do the bug fixes that really need to be done. But for us, it's like every time we make something new, we took out a lot of systems at some point because we realized we just overloaded it. There's too much you can do. We kind of lost focus, so we decided to take out some systems again. I think this is something we will keep on doing even after the release for at least a few more rounds of updates, because it gives us a huge learning opportunity.
Yeah, I still
we'll make the next.
I think it's funny. It's also a bit sad at the same time. I had people floating in the air when they were looking on each other. Someone was walking into a window. Like these kind of amazing features of AI that works how they want to walk, right?
It's still early access, and we take early access seriously. Yeah.
Yes.
But the next updates is already going to bring a lot of fixes regarding that. This one was one where we took our time and like really tackled some of the bigger problems.
And are you going to self-publish it, or did you find a publisher?
No, we're going to self-publish it because now in the beginning we didn't even know all about the publishing business. Now we got a good grip of how stuff works. Now the game is way too far in development to be really interesting for a publisher. I mean, if some publisher would say now, okay, this is still interesting for us, we want to work together with you, we would never say no if there's an interesting offer. But the game is basically done.
Or that will be challenging because you say like, oh yeah, Steam is not going to be like, well promoting it when you launch it, because they will be like, yeah, this has been in early access already.
Yeah. It's not going to be a huge push from Steam. I mean, for us, it's just, okay, this was our first game. This was like the time we spent on this was basically the time others go to university, or they go to university even longer to learn what they are doing. And we just already did our first game, learned how to do a game, and everything that's happening with the game right now is cool for us.
You were able to do it without any consideration about money issues or whatsoever, right? If I hear this correct.
Yeah. We had some savings, but they are gone now, so...
Now the real deal.
They would be gone anyways, because it was COVID-19 and we couldn't work in our old fields, so...
This is a COVID game.
Kind of. This was the kickoff for the game, at least, yeah.
Okay, so how did it influence the game, do you think, that it was made in that kind of period?
For us, it was, we decided we will not have an office because it doesn't really matter. And then new people who came in were like from all over Germany or even in the further countries. And now it's like, I don't see us ever having an office because our workflow is so remote, digital, concentrated, that I feel like we don't need this. And it might even like disrupt the way we work together now. If some of us would be in an office and others would be like all over the world, because now it's like a level playing field for everyone. It's not like if some people in an office, you will always have some kind of information that will be just in this office, and that will be really hard to transport to the others because everybody feels like, we just talked about this. Why should I like present this to others now? So I think for us, we're probably gonna stay a full remote company.
Okay, that's interesting. This has different challenges.
Absolutely, yeah.
So how did your job, like audio designer, influence the game?
I mean, this is why we came up with the idea to have a really story-focused game, because we knew we can record our voiceovers for the whole game ourselves. And what we did with like 100,000 words of text, something around that, in 2 languages for another studio is a huge expense. And for us, this was basically free because we have the recording set up, we have like the recording facilities, we know how to coach voice actors and how to work with them and to push them. What makes it a lot easier, because if you know this stuff and you're the ones who also wrote the story, you can work with amateurs very well, because if you know how to push people, how to coach people, you can people who don't do this professionally to deliver great lines. If you're not in this situation, I mean, with the big studios, there's like the writer who wrote the text, then there's the director who has to bring it into the game, then there's the whoever person who's going to be in the studio while the recording is done, and there's going to be the technician. So there's a huge like gap between the person who originally wrote the text and the role and knows how the NPC in the game is supposed to be, and then the actor in the studio who is so far away. There's like 3-4 persons in between. So like delivering the original idea for voice actors is not that easy in those big production setups. And for us, it was like, we wrote the text, we know how to coach people. When we were in the studio with them, this is like the direct line.
How many people has spoken lines for all these characters?
35, 40, 45.
And did you just found them in Bavaria, or like?
It's all Bavarian, yes, or most of them. And we went to the countryside, to those like small theaters in small villages, because they weren't able to play during COVID as well. And we're sitting around bored, and they were super excited to help us out with that. And so we got some people who are like, they are original.
Oh, that's cool.
And they happen to be amateur actors as well, so that was amazing working with them.
Nice, yeah. And then you also give them something to do the lazy times, basically.
When the game then is released, we're gonna have a huge party.
Nice.
With all of them. That's gonna be fun.
So in total, how many people have worked on this game then?
So if you take all of those and then I mean people who did little things for the game and the voiceover actors and all of that, then it's 70, 80 people total, I think.
Then you're almost like a very big studio if you hear it like that.
Yeah, it is. It has its own challenges because working with a lot of people who just do small jobs needs a lot of organization and a lot of communication, and we spend a lot of time communicating. Yeah.
So how did group communication went with you guys?
We just try to have all the communication as open as possible from the beginning, so that if there's so many people on the team, everybody could always know what's happening. Like everything is in an open Discord, so people can always read up to what's happening right now. What are they doing in animation? What's happening to my favorite NPC? So people will always be up to date. And then. So
that's nice. What is your favorite NPC?
I think Schorsch. I think Schorsch is he's the one. It's so funny because I know the voice actor of Schorsch from the recording studio, and he's like the shouter in a very brutal death metal style band. So that's how I know him first.
And then he turned up into a man with issues, let's say so.
And he turned out to be an amazing voice actor as well, so...
Yeah, that's cool that you hear real Bavarian people talking.
This is how the English voiceover actually came to be, because we were discussing, should we take native English speakers to have a very good recording, a good acting, a good voice acting in that. And then we decided, no, we somehow want to capture the flair of the Bavarian feeling. So we actually asked all the people who did the Bavarian roles if they would like to do the English roles as well. And 80% of them are the same persons who did the Bavarian voice acting, are doing the English voice acting as well. And this gives it this very distinct, very German accent in the game, you know? They all sound a little bit like the Schwarzenegger.
If I'm right, you were with your friends just talking we want to have a game in Bavaria, or you want to have a murder mystery?
Yeah, the first idea was to have a story narrative game. This is where we started. Then actually the first thing we discussed was German colonial history, because that would have been super interesting, because a very controversial topic and lots of conflict you can talk about. That would have been super interesting, and then we just realized, okay, we're not at there yet, because doing that, we could have went to Namibia because the Germans were there, and then we realized, okay, they have 16 different dialects that are really completely different in Namibia. So if we want to do that right, we have to have voice actors who know from all those different, and then we were like, okay, no, this is way too complex. Let's do something in Bavaria right out of the door. Let's do something historical here. And then with that kind of the murder mystery thing came up. I think if we would have done something about the colonial times, it might have been a very different story for sure. There's bigger conflicts, different conflicts, and there we could have used.
And because you take such a cultural thing, did you also get some early complaints about the people from that region, or no, you're not representing us well? Did that happen, or?
I think the people who have this mindset, who are that traditional and that focused on keeping certain traditions, they don't play computer games.
Fair enough. Yeah, what is your target audience?
They will never know. We don't know. It's but as we realized with Pentiment, apparently it's out there, because it's Pentiment is like Bavaria just 300 years earlier. It's a murder mystery kind of. We just have to apparently the audience is out there. We just have to find it.
Okay, yeah, that's always challenging. Do you also have a kind of a community connector, not only Steam but maybe Discord, Twitter, or whatsoever?
We're on Twitter, but a lot of community stuff was happening over Discord. Really amazing people who give us a lot of feedback. What's super cool. So a lot of is happening there. We should start this again, because we used to live stream from the studio while we were working on Twitch, and that was always a lot of fun. We just didn't find the time to do it anymore, because there's a lot of people just coming by and asking questions, and we can show them how we're working on the game live, and that was really cool actually. We're just not finding the time for that right now.
And do you go to a lot of events then? Because I met you at Gamescom.
Yeah, not that many. We were at a few, but Gamescom was by far the biggest, and that helped a lot for us. Gamescom was super cool because there a lot of people got to play play the game, and we were more concerned with, damn it, we didn't bring enough computers because people wouldn't want to leave. They all would play through the whole demo, so that was really cool.
How long was the demo then?
About an hour, 45 minutes. Way too long for Gamescom.
Oh, nice. I also felt when I was playing, like, I was picking up everything. And then I found out there is a weight limit. But it's just, you cannot really do that much with only for some quests. But, like, I was like, wait, are you going to plan to also do more with items? Or because there are a lot of crafting tables, but the only thing I can craft is, like, a lantern and a door.
Yeah, that's part of the next update. Is going to be most of the crafting system is done by now. In the current state of the game, there's almost nothing in there crafting wise, and there's going to be a lot of crafting to do and a lot of special items that will give you boosts and skill checks and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh, it will boost on your dice rolls, basically?
Not the dice rolls, but it's like you have those 4 dice rolls, and in between every dice roll, you can think about if you want to boost your skill value. So kind of if you have a skill value of 10 and you already used 8 of those points because your first 2 dice rolls were really bad, then you can think about, I can eat this consumable now, and this will boost my skill value another 5 points. So this will give me some headroom to get the next skill dice rolls well and stuff like that.
So you're kind of making elixirs, basically. That's what I hear almost.
Yeah, but just the Bavarian version. So you can craft like the golden pretzel and the Weisswurst and Bavarian versions of that.
Nice. Okay, I see. There has been a lot of food and inspiration of this game.
A lot of Bavarian culture is about food. That's right, and drinking.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, what was your overall inspiration apart from Bavaria? Like, did you also took inspiration of other games, or like, how did you get inspired?
Yeah, we come from a background, as you already said, from a pen and paper RPG background, a lot of us, and then us, like the big RPG games is something we all were playing, and especially Disco Elysium just the year before, that was super story and narrative driven and stuff like that, is something we really enjoy. I always say, like, the game is a little bit like Witcher for people who don't like the fighting. If you just want to have the story, that's
or wake up at night, right?
yeah. And it's an RPG for people who play RPGs for the story, or who play it on easy mode to just get most of the story experience and don't want to do too much of the fighting. For those people, this is kind of the game.
Yeah, because, well, I was like, it felt so, like, to be honest, I felt like the night doesn't have any, like, good parts, basically. Yeah. It's just negative. Maybe you can just unlock some boxes, maybe, but that's then it, right?
Later in the game, there's going to be 1 or 2 quests where you can or you have to do them at night, so the night poses the challenge to you.
Yeah, I mean, with the drinking a little, but you just follow the beer and no one is there. I mean, I beated it, but it was like, oh, what are you doing to me?
It's still too hard. We decreased the drunkenness for the current update. It's not as hard anymore as it is.
Oh, you just gave me pure pain. I see. But I beat it. And then I was like, okay, there was one, like, so I did it 3 times. Like, the second time I was almost there. No, 4 times. So I was almost there. I was like, oh, no. So, and then you have like a gate that you need to just like smash, and then of course I didn't have enough strength anymore, but I have some beer, so I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to drink all this beer, so at least, because I was so close to the end, right? And then of course I throw like terrible. I was like, this is impossible with like freaking so many strength points. So after that, I was like so freaking drunk that I could even not walk anymore. And then I was like, no, you are not doing to this. But then I found out there is autosave. But it was like, no, this was pure torture.
That's how life in Bavaria is.
Okay. So everyone in Bavaria drinks Bavaria, or what is this thing with Bavaria and beer?
I mean, there's a lot of culture around Bavarian beer, and we have this thing called Reinheitsgebot that very accurately describes how beer in Bavaria is supposed to be brewed afternoon, and this is like super old, and that's why Bavaria has always been like famous for the beer here. Actually, for me growing up here, I feel like I'm a lot more interested in beers from other places, but still, you always know there's a good beer somewhere close by.
Okay, nice. Oh, there's another element in the game which I think is interesting. It's like the concentration stuff. So when you concentrate, that you just often just see some little flashing there, and then you just go there, and then something happens, right? Was it like just to be added some more mechanics, or was it like, oh, we wanted this to improve the story, or what was like the reason behind that choice?
This is something we can definitely do better in the second part, on the next part, because what's super interesting about this detective concentration mode is that it gives you the possibility to hide clues anywhere in the level and to force players to really think about and listen to what the story says. It's always like kind of hard to find a good detective mechanic. So we played the Sherlock Holmes games, and there's mostly pixel hunting. If you do the pixel hunting right, you find all the clues, and then you solve the case. So we felt like, okay, this is kind of boring. Making a good detective game is really hard. There were not so many really good. I don't know, do you know Her Story?
I have heard about it, but I haven't played it though.
This is really cool because you have to watch all those videos, and only if you really listen well to the videos, you have to type in search words, and only if you type the right words, you will find the next video that leads you to another clue. So you really have to listen to what's happening and then type in the right word. Still super hard for people who have like problems with writing words correctly. For them, this is a terrible game. And our main idea was to like, if you listen to stuff they are saying, then you will be able to know at what places in the level you have to look to find clues. This is the main idea, because this gives you this combination of collecting information while you're talking to people, and then you have like the absolutely like the you can go anywhere, so you can just brute force it by going everywhere and looking everywhere. So you really have to listen, and you have to like make your own conclusions and then go to the right spot and look for the right thing. This was our main idea behind the mechanic, and in some parts of the game this works, but in other parts of the game we feel like maybe we gave just too many clues. We made it kind of too easy. Like we always give you a little hint. This tells you should look around here. This is an interesting
the point is I almost already know the whole story of the priest, but I need to find, I think, a few clues more. Then I can finally, because I threw bad with the priest, and I'm like, no, but I know the story. I have seen him talking, I have seen him do that and that and that. It should be super obvious why I need to find another clue randomly. And I'm like, that was a bit strange, because I was like, I just immediately walking around the church, and then you can have that event, and then later on I find out like, oh, I need to go search for the event. So it's kind of an event that you hear from the lumber boys that there is some issue going on, and then you need to go to the lady with, oh, why is the envelope? But I already saw why the envelope. I already knew it. I was like, this is backtracking.
But this is actually then a bug. This shouldn't be this way. This shouldn't be possible. This is a bug then.
I'm very good in finding bugs and breaking games. That's my specialty.
It's actually one, if you don't have this bug, then this is one of the quests where I feel like this works out okay. Because if you listen to what they are saying, you know the spots where you have to look. And there's actually like, in this case, there's 3 or 4 hidden spots we don't tell you about. And if you listen closely to what they will say, then you can find those spots. Then you have a option at the end of the quest you would otherwise not have.
Yeah, I think I just basically broke my game then. So that's great. Yeah, you should let me know when you update all those stuff, that I maybe will play it again with all the new stuff.
Yeah, then I think the best way would to actually wait for the full release, because we can kind of give you a pre-version in the week before, something like that, so you can actually try before the week before the release if you want that, and then this would be like the really good time to then really play through the whole game once again.
Okay, that's cool. Okay, so which feedback from Steam like really influenced the game?
With Steam especially, it's not the single feedback. We're trying to listen to what is it the people like and what is they dislike in general, and can we like focus on this a little more, take something out if there's like multiple feedbacks. But we get so much feedback through Discord that the few Steam reviews we have by this point are not that important or don't carry that much weight, because most of the feedback we actually get through Discord. And the cool thing about Discord is we can directly communicate and ask what exactly is that you like and you dislike, and how do you like this, how do you like that, and that's super cool.
Okay, so what from your feedback from your users that like did really influence the game?
It was so much. So many things, so many little things. It was mostly little things, actually. I mean, the people who play the game and who stick with it for longer than 1 hour usually like narrative games. So, like, the main focus, we didn't change too much. It was more like, I don't understand this. Why is it like this? Why does this mechanic work this way? Wouldn't it be cooler if? And it's a lot of little things we changed.
What are you the most proud of if you look back at the whole project?
That we made a game.
Okay.
3 years ago, we didn't have any clue of any of that, and now we made a game, and now we actually made the second game right now, and we're planning the third game right now. So the company exists now, and this is the really cool thing about it.
So yeah, for other people that just wanted to start out in the studio just on their own, like, do you have some advice for them?
I feel like we're still too early in the game to already give out advice to others.
Okay.
I think,
You're just waiting for the results, basically.
Yeah. Give us a few more years before we start throwing around advice.
Okay, great. And I will ask you another time this question.
Amazing. One thing I can absolutely say is that for us, the whole discussion about crunch in the industry and the terrible work times and stuff like that, this is something we discussed this a lot, and we still make long hours because making a game is a super complex thing, and it's a super creative thing, and planning out creative stuff is impossible. You never know how long stuff is gonna take. Sometimes you think this takes 2 weeks and you're done in 3 hours, and sometimes it's the other way around. And this is just something that is this way. You can't really change this with creative processes. And there are so many creative processes involved. So I think you shouldn't accept the company crunch hours that just happen to be there, but you still should be like prepared to work long hours, because that's the thing you do if you do creative stuff in whatever field it is.
Okay, interesting. A bit of respect for the crunching culture, basically.
Yeah. I don't like it. I don't like that it's there, but I totally get why it happens.
I hear correctly you crunch quite a lot.
No, if you like, for us, it's like everyone in our team has like this special field, this special area where it's not crunch for them. It's a lot of work, yes, but where they like really have a passion about this.
Yes.
And they simply won't stop until they like what they made. And this oftentimes leads to long hours, but it's a different thing if your boss says we have to get this finished. This game has to roll out in 3 weeks, so everyone is staying in during the weekend as well. Or if it's like your own little company and your own passion and you really want to do this right, then it's still long hours, but it's not the same thing as crunch, because you're torturing yourself.
Yeah, it's passion crunch. But that's lovely, right? That's about our field. We can create stuff that can influence others, but also we can put our heart in. That's why I really love to interview indie developers, which I love to do. Before we're closing off, I really want to thank you, but also do you have some last comments, or is the crunching the thing that you want to close off, or do you want to have something else to close this interview?
No. Making games is just such an amazing thing to do. You can really hate it in times when things are not working out, but when things are coming together and you see your game happening, it's such an amazing thing to do that I just really want to encourage people who want to do that. And especially, as you said, in indie settings where you have a lot of creative control over what you're doing. That's simply one of the best jobs in the world.
Yeah, I totally agree. Okay, lovely to have you here and to have a sneak preview of basically what's coming. So that's really cool.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. For next week, I'm going to interview You Suck at Parking, so it's a total different genre, so we're going to look at that as well. See you in the next video. Jakob, thank you very much for being here. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.